Seeing is believing, so they say, but at the heart of the Christian faith is a reversal of that particular aphorism. For faith is the conviction instead that we have been seen. Jesus found Philip and said to him, "Follow me." Philip found Nathanael and said, "Come and see." When Nathanael came to Jesus, Jesus said, "I saw you." Philip invited Nathanael to see the one he had been found by. And this "come and see" was more than a try before you buy offer to satisfy Nathanael's messianic curiosity. It was an enthusiastic outpouring as a response to the way that Philip had come to know very swiftly that he had been found and asked to follow me. It was a response to the experience of being sought out and of being called, of the powerful focus of Jesus' ministry of discovery and discipleship. Even before Nathanael accepted Philip's enthusiastic invitation to come and see, Nathanael had been known in this same way. He had been seen by Jesus. He had been understood. And the awareness of the power of this gaze, when Jesus speaks of it, saying, "I saw you under the fig tree before Philip called you," and Nathanael is made aware of it, is overwhelming to him. In response to those words and to that new awareness, Nathanael, who had been a bit dismissive of the idea that a great prophet might be able to come out of the unprophesied backwater of Nazareth, suddenly replied, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God, you are the King of Israel." That's because to be seen for who you are, is an amazing thing. And to realize that you have been seen in this way by God is to believe that you are an object of worth and that you have value in his sight. This is hinted at on a very basic level in our normal way of speaking, where we can say, "I see," to mean that I can visually sense something, and also, I see, to mean that I have understood and recognized its significance. The language of the New Testament carries exactly the same dual idea of literal and meaningful processes of seeing and being seen, in the way it talks about seeing in St. John's Gospel. And Jesus' way of having seen Nathanael is not an exercise in long-distance surveillance or some kind of impartial observation. It's not a literal way of seeing. It is a meaningful way. It is a form of seeing that recognizes him, knows him, values him completely. Jesus' way of seeing Nathanael sees what he is capable of. Jesus' way of seeing Nathanael sees who God created him to be. Jesus' way of seeing Nathanael somehow offers Nathanael an understanding of this perspective. No wonder then that Nathanael is overwhelmed by really being seen, by the focus of all this apprehending power on his life. And the intensity of the experience of being seen in this way is reflected in the promise that Jesus then makes. That Nathanael would then one day see in turn visions of the connection between earth and heaven, and of the unique place of the Son of Man, something like the image of Jacob's ladder, that with its mystical connotations of the ascent of the human spirit towards holiness, and with its revelation of the hidden connection of the heavenly and earthly, transforms our world into the house of God and the very gate of heaven. Nathanael's realization that he has been seen by Jesus therefore forces a shift in his own self-understanding too. His acclamation of Jesus as Rabbi, Son of God, King of Israel, is also the recognition that he has become aware of that divine connection in his life, and of God's calling to become now what he was created to be. he realizes that there is a power in this gift of being seen that speaks of the divine, that speaks of a God whose gaze is itself embracing and therefore empowering. All throughout John's Gospel is threaded the theme that when we see Jesus, we are being allowed to see the Father, and in him and by his grace, we are also being given a model of how the Father should see us. And so in the gifts of an increased self-awareness and the model of Jesus' human perfection, there's also a painful element. Because we realise that God holds a genuinely complete vision of us. And that as well as his sight holding us in complete charity, it also comes with a complete clarity that makes plain, and eventually makes plain even to us, those faults which we try not to see. Those faults that exist in ourselves and which are embedded in those structures of sin which we are complicit with and which we live within. And this comes with an obligation to be opened up to the truth of God's insight, of the fact that we have not become what we were created to be. And to be opened up to the painful process of being willing to be changed in response to the way God still holds this vision of and for us. Being truly seen highlights all our own blind spots. And it should cause us not only to acclaim God's power, but to reshape ourselves and how we see ourselves, and how we see all our relationships, those with other people, and the way we seek to caricature rather than accurately portray them, with God, and the way we shy away from his clarity of vision, with the end point of our existence, and with all that is wrong in the world, all the poverty and violence and hatred and abuse of power that we pretend we can only view through a glass darkly, but which a more honest admission of how clear such horrors are to us would compel us to be more active in opposing them. For in being seen by God, and knowing that we are supremely valued by his gaze, we also realise on some level that these evils too are done within his sight. Therefore, with enthusiasm, we can come into the sight and into the presence of God. We can invite people, as Philip does, to come and be beheld by him, born the King of Angels. But if we are to be faithful to his call, we must also seek to see our own lives and the world as he who sees them perfectly, completely, with recognition and with love, does.